What if I told you that if you're a lazy but ambitious person, then the problem may not solely be you, but more so it's because you lack a system for you to build that momentum to go on and achieve the things that you really want to achieve. And instead of relying, and instead, and most people will rely on motivation to help them get started or willpower, but willpower alone isn't going to last forever. In this video, I'm going to share with you a focus framework that can turn your everyday repetitive actions and habits into greater compounding gains over time. Now, the first thing I want you to understand is the power of building momentum. Now, when you think of building momentum, you might think of New Year's resolutions. The New Year's resolutions, you are essentially coming up with all of these new goals that you want to set yourself up to achieve for the rest of the year. However, a lot of these goals you are wanting to achieve are built by willpower and willpower alone. S- You can think of willpower as like you can think of willpower as a muscle. And over time, muscle will get tired. It'll reach fatigue, and that kind of overuse is what leads to the tiredness, the stress, and the brain fog starts to kick in. And so that's why you cannot just rely on willpower alone. That willpower alone is not able to give you that consistency and that ability to just keep on being disciplined and productive over long periods of time, because it's a finite source that's going to reach its end, that's going to be depleted before you know it. So now you're probably wondering, if willpower is not the answer to staying productive and being on track, then what is? And the answer to that is having a system. The truth is, when you have a system that's ready and there for you, it better reinforces your own identity. And by doing these small repetitions within the built system, you're much less likely to be distracted, and you're much more likely to make the decisions that will serve you better in the long run. So, the way to build a system is actually not as complicated as you think. The first step is to identify a goal or an ambition that you want to go towards, right? So, once you have that goal, once you know where your starting point is, then you have to think about, what kind of things do I have to do? What are the actions and habits I have to take and be in order to get there eventually, right? So, obviously, you want to take small steps at a time, because that will make you less overwhelmed, and taking small little steps will eventually ensure more consistency rather than you giving it your all for like 1 week and then you think it's too much, so then you stop. So, figuring out what the actions you want to take to get to your goal, breaking those down in very small, actionable, everyday habits and steps will serve you a lot better in the long run. And every time you complete your system thoroughly, or you get a very productive day going, you always want to reward yourself in some kind of way. And this reward doesn't have to be super dramatic or anything super big. It just has to kind of reinforce the purpose of, okay, this is what I did today and this is what I got to accomplish, and I'm happy that I got to accomplish it. And so it also just kind of gives you a little something to look forward to after your day of living inside the system that you built. And so this will help you with, give you a little small amount of motivation, which the reward system, it doesn't have to be something you just keep on doing forever, but in the beginning, I think the little motivation that the reward system will give you once in a while is something that's very important in terms of building up the consistency to getting stronger throughout and continuing on with your journey. Now, if you find yourself tired all the time or not really having the mental and physical strength to make decisions or just be productive, and instead you just feel lazy and want to stay comfortable and inside your comfort zone, then here's a tip that I would recommend you. Then here's a tip that I would recommend you. So, a tip that has worked for me is to plan out what I want to do in the morning of the next day. I'm not necessarily planning out my entire day the night before, but more so what I'm gonna do in the morning of the following day. So if you're a morning person and you like to wake up a little earlier than usual, get some work done when everyone else is sleeping, when everything is quiet, then having that sort of list of things where you kind of know, okay, this is what I should do, these are the tasks I should focus on, it allows you to get straight into that zone of deep working and deep productivity because your brain is sharpest in the morning. So, assuming that you had a good night's sleep, when you wake up first thing in the morning, your brain is refreshed and you are much more likely to reach flow state by doing work in the morning rather than getting stuck in that afternoon slump where you may try to be productive and try to get work done, but no matter what you do, it just will not be as productive as those first hour to the 2 hours that you wake up. And so, knowing what you want to do and planning ahead for the following morning, it can save you a lot of time. It can get you straight into that flow state zone. And by doing so, it'll also be pushing you further into reinforcing your identity in those repetitive actions that are eventually what make up the bulk of your system and keep you on track. Now, you might have noticed that there's a common theme surrounding all of these principles that I've just shared with you, and that main theme is focus. The moment you transition yourself from a manual habit tracking kind of lifestyle where you're constantly telling yourself and being aware of all the habits that will keep you on track to a more automated one where you are just fully aware but also not at the same time. It's just you're in such a zone in this system that's meant to keep you focused on your goals. You just keep doing it every day. The repetition comes in, and once you get to that stage, it becomes so much more automatic, so much more easier to just do what you need to do and make the right decisions that will benefit you in the long term. When focus becomes your default state of being, it's a lot easier to follow on with your system. And like I mentioned before, if you're someone who is ambitious but finds yourself lazy and unproductive sometimes, then having a system that is meant to keep you on track and to reinforce your identity can be the strongest and most competitive advantage you have against your peers if you can just follow these principles that I shared with you. And the truth is, if you miss one day, then it's not a big deal. Just get back to your system the second day. But what is a big deal is if you let that one day just do its thing and you just keep going on the days following that, and that'll kind of take you further and further away from where you were intended to go. If you miss one day, that's not a big deal. Just take the second day and shift that focus back toward where you want to be. And if you reach setbacks, then just understand that setbacks are inevitable. There's going to be challenges, obstacles in your way, no matter what. And so getting past them, right, surpassing those things will eventually, it'll just take you further down into your journey. And those things can, down the line, serve as valuable to further experiences that you may have in the future. And so if you can just apply these micro habits and actions to your life, if you can focus on creating a system that can benefit you and your goals, then that focus and that state of being will no longer require willpower to execute, but more so it's this repetitive kind of identity, right, that you have. And having that will make you so much more of a productive and consistent, disciplined person over time. And just understand the power of daily repetitive small actions and habits, because those over time will compound to greater and much more bigger results. And those results will get you closer and closer to where you want to be.